before we start this video, I would just like to mention the AoE2 Arena Discord. This is a Discord linked in the description. It is purely arena based, but we do play the occasional other map. It's basically a community channel for this YouTube channel, but also it's just a hub of all things arena. This has a lot of guides in it, a lot of people. We play TGs in the evenings quite regularly, and it's quite easy to get a game and find other people to play some arena with, or queue up to prefer arena map with. Hello, and welcome to a new guide. Today we're going to be covering Turk, Jannisary and Mangonel. This is going to be picking up roughly where we left off in a previous tutorial, so if you haven't watched that yet, I recommend you watch it. Otherwise, this is a very basic 26+2 FC into unique unit. We covered the Spanish before, but it applies to all civs really, with food and gold unique units. And we're just going to be talking about how you would push in Castle Age, what you would do meeting certain attempted counters, and we'll just see how that plays out. You'll get to see what you need to do in order to beat what you're against. Many things you could be against. You could be against castles, unique units, many different things, but this is probably going to be a good guide to what you can do to try and push. In the current meta, going low risk map control, for example crossbows or scouts, this will beat that quite hard. That actually delays someone a little bit. So they're setting themselves back, they're probably going to try and boom behind that. If you do this, you could definitely get quite a lot of aggression on them, and you can push them very easily. So just to start, we are starting off just after hitting Castle Age. We're starting with Rio Arrow because we're about to have 14 on food when we move these villagers from berries to farms, which we're just about to do. And 6 villagers, 5 from the stone, 1 from the gold. They are building the castle, and these villagers will go to the stone. To the gold afterwards for 7 in total. We're going to be adding a couple more here. We also started with 6 on wood. We added 2 more upon clicking up when we finished our food under the TC. So this is our eco balance. We're going to have 8 on wood. We have 8 on farms, 4 on berries. Soon going to be adding those to farms. And 7 on gold, 6 of which are currently building the castle. These came from stone, remember. So let's get started. So we're going to want to get bowsaw as soon as possible. I'm also going to mention that you have scouted, and that's really all you need to think about. Some of the farms are reseeding. This is going to cost us just a little bit of wood right now, but as soon as we can afford it, we're going to get bowsaw. Let's just pre-queue these villagers to make sure they go back on gold correctly. We need about 9 on gold. Realistically, you need probably 6 or 7 on gold to make Janissaries, but we're going to need extra gold because we're going to push properly. We're going to add a Mangonel, Siege Workshop and make Mangonels. Monastery to pick up some relics while we have the map control, and convert some knights or any other possible counter we could probably run into. So when we get to afford it, we're going to get bowsaw, queue up Janissaries, and you want to attack straight away as early as possible. So I like to queue up 2 Janissaries. And after that, a petard could be quite good. After that though, we're not going to be using a petard to break walls. We are going to be using the Janissaries to finish off the walls. So with their 9 on gold, we then need to go to wood, and those will then need to build farms. The berries ran out, we sent them to stragglers. So this is quite fast paced, you have to be quite aggressive. Standard counter 1, Mangonels. This is really bad against Janissaries, Conquistadors as well, but Janissaries, you know, they really don't counter them, and we're going to see why. They do have 1 more range and a huge amount of damage, and we'll just see how this goes. We're not going to be using our scout, we're going to assume you're in an opponent's base, and they have these behind walls, but this is an AI, there's only so much I could do in terms of limitations. So just split. And you can really just micro hard. If you get yourself 5 of these, then you're very likely to one-shot Mangonel. Oh, whoops. Happens sometimes. So we're going to want to make our way up to 10 onward. I don't know why these villagers just stopped working. And then we want to add farms as much as possible after that. Whenever we can afford to. We want to add a Forward Seas Workshop at this point and start pushing. I actually quite like that we lost a couple of Janissaries, because that's something that could easily happen in a game and it actually sets your push back a little bit. So, just me trying to talk while playing puts us in that spot. We want maybe 14 villagers on farms. That will give us good production from both our TC as well as the Janissaries. You gotta remember we want to make our way up towards him. Keep 10 on wood. Every time you notice that you have a lot of wood in the bank, just add a farmer. Oops. You also want to keep your scout nearby, keep scouting the walls, or keep him near relics. Send these in, let's make a Mangonel. As you can see, it's 20 minutes, we're already in with 10 Janissaries, would be 12 if we didn't lose the ones early on. And let's just say they've internally walled. This is not a problem, because we have Janissaries and we have a Mangonel, we can destroy these buildings no problem. It's very hard for someone to stonewall off a large area, and they're really costing themselves a huge amount of economy. They're not going to be ahead of you, even if you're just one TC. If you do something like, if they're doing something like trying to make fortified walls or something to try and save themselves. The monastery is a really integral part, because they could also be making knights. We'll talk about that later. But monks are not such a big problem, because they don't really outrange Janissaries. They only do by one tile, and you need very few Janissaries to kill monks. That was a little bit of a mismicro there, which is bad on my part. Now I like to either get the gold mining upgrade or just slam a couple more villagers on gold. But as you can see, the rate in which these buildings go down to Janissaries, Mangonel, and a monk is going to be incredible. So we're making monks now. This is a really important part of regression. I know it's really fast paced, but monks are usually quite key, because even if you're against crossbows, which Janissaries do okay against, they have more range, they can kill them in less hits. The inaccuracy, but still doing damage with the missed projectiles to other units, that's still really strong. So adding in a monk, even if you just convert one crossbow, it's still an okay value. You can use it to heal your units, particularly under fire from crossbows when you pull back anyway. And you can always pull back if you feel like you might lose a fight. Let the Mangonel go forward, heal the monks for just a little bit. Lots of different things you can do there. So having monks is really important. Grabbing relics is also almost essential. If you manage to get 4 or 5 relics when you have map control, your gold is going to go through the roof. And that is really important to pay attention to. Keep in mind, another person's probably not going to be going out on the map and grabbing a lot of relics. Use your light cav as Turks to try and snipe monks if you can. Sit to nearby relics. Otherwise, they might go out, grab 1 or 2 nearby relics, you'll still get 3 or 4. So the chances are you'll get relics doing this, and having 5 relics is like having 5 post-imp gold miners really. I think 5 or 6. It's like 8 or so in Gas Age before you get a decent amount of upgrades. So really keep this in mind, and you will have a very easy time. It really helps. So let's get back to pushing. You can also abuse the market a little bit if you need to. Oh, they still have a monk left. And let's grab some nearby relics, and we're going to make some more houses with that villager. We might get housed here. Jannisary is quite dramatically a range of TC, so you can definitely get quite a lot on it at one time. When possible, add more monks. Oops. And when we have our gold, which, 12 without the gold mining upgrade, we can get it later on and just have more gold and abuse the market a little bit, that's fine. Then we can just move to making more farms. What we need to do is really consider imping ever this one TC. So destroy any important buildings, but keep pushing, try and find the eco, try and find the TCs. Now, problem number 3, a castle defense. Castles are a real big problem because you can't push them. This is when you need to decide you need to up. You need to make some really difficult decisions at this point though. Firstly, what are we going to be doing? What are we going to do in order to defeat the castle? You could add a lot of rams. That's generally not going to work too well if they have a later castle or if they don't lose much economy. If they lose a lot of economy, the siege workshop and add some rams going heavy on wood, that can work. But here we're going to assume we need to imp. When are they going to imp? Not anytime soon. What army can they make? If you think they have a decent economy left, rather than just, for example, ram with all their villagers to their back base, build a castle to defend, and are just setting up with like 5 farms back there, and they bought the castle really, you need to think, they don't have much economy. The easy way to do this is I can imp faster, even if I imp quite late, I can mass army on the way. So, you can idle your Jannisary production. I like to do it maybe 20 Janissaries, you could idle for about 5, and honestly in that time you will get the resources to imp really quickly. And having the BBC in that time might be beneficial. Otherwise, if you think they might be massing knights or something, so imping's not going to help you too much, you'll get a bomber cannon, but they'll just clean it. Then making Janissaries and upping a little bit later, they're not going to be upping, so not going to be a problem, is still a good decision. And also adding in some more monks in the process. So try and avoid getting housed. And when we can, we're going to add another Mangonel, some more houses. But yeah, I think pretty simple. We can now get the gold mining upgrade, pull a couple of villagers off of gold. We don't really need it, especially considering we're picking up relics. Nope, Mangonels are hitting my own units. But yeah, just keep doing the damage, just keep pushing what you can. Queue up Janissaries if you really think you need them. If you don't think you're going to need them, they don't have much economy. This is your time to idle. And don't leave this base really. If you're in a team game, you can go to pocket and you can do a decent bit of damage. But at this point already should be considered over. You can obviously break this gate, go to the next person in line. While you're in here though, if you're in a 1v1 in particular, you want to focus on doing a lot of damage in here, as much as possible. Keeping our 10 on wood, we're just going to pull off whenever we can, build a couple of farms. And also destroying these is quite helpful. Let's go over there, bring that. We're going to idle again a little bit more. We're scarcely making them, we're making the occasional one. We want to get maybe 25 to 30. By minute 30, ideally you want probably about 40. If you're still making them and you're wanting to imp a little bit later. But we can idle until then. You can also abuse the market a little bit. And you can make your new villagers go to stone to prepare for the next castle that you might want. Again, whether you need another castle or not, you want to build a forward one, is also entirely up to you. You can, after you have your X amount of farmers, your 14 or so farmers to run 1 TC and 1 castle for Jannisary and villagers, then it's really easy for you after that point to just send more villagers to stone, have like 7-8 on stone, maybe get the stone mining upgrade, build a forward castle, put in the pressure. But since we've been idling on the Jannies a little bit, we can now click up. Minute 27, we're going to be imp by minute 30. If someone's straight 3 TC booming, even a decent imp time is looking later 26, 27 minutes. No one's going to be even close to that. If they are under this much pressure. Bring another villager forward is what I also like to do. And I want to build a second siege workshop. This is so as soon as we up to the imperial age, we can just make 2 bomber cannons and we can start doing the damage. You can also see how your resources start to float if you don't like, for example, you have 25 on wood, food. If you don't want that, then we can easily just take some off, put them on stone. I like to have the villagers on foot though, because I want to get elite Jannisary, I want to get conscription. I'm going to start working on the armors. I should also mention if you're against a lot of archer units early on, grabbing the armor is really helpful. But if not, then it's really just fine to forget about it until later on. I'm just going to keep building houses and keeping this running. 4 monks, they don't need sanctity, it could be nice to get. Those are going to be really, really helpful for us to A, convert mass knights, which usually is what they've been massing at this point, because skirmishers and archers are not going to work against these mangonels. You convert 4 of 25 knights. Suddenly they have 21 left. A couple of those knights, maybe all 4 of them, are going to fight one-on-one with your knights, just because of the way the pathing works and just the way units attack each other. So they suddenly go from 25 knights down to, what's that, 17 knights in active battlefield. Just because you have 4 monks, you get your conversions. And then you get even better value, because they can either heal your units, or they can try and kill your monks with their knights. They'll kill them if they wanted to, but their knights will take a lot of hit from the Janissaries and the converted knights in the meantime. So they take a lot more damage just trying to kill the monks. At the same time, you're fine to lose your monks, because if they get a convert each on a knight, they've already got their value. It's a good trade to lose a monk if you manage to convert a knight with it. So it's a win-win for you, really. Really good unit to have. So yeah, as you can see, we're already destroying all the port buildings. Siege Workshop needs to go first. And let's just abuse the market a little bit. We do have 9 villagers on gold, but you have to also remember that we do have 5 relics. Even 3 relics, you will notice you have a huge sort of economy boost when it comes to gold, and you'll need to abuse the market a little bit to change it. In fact, if you actually get quite a lot of gold, you can buy stone and build another castle if you wanted. So let's protect the bomber cannon. We could add more, or we consider getting the elite Jannisary upgrade, for example. Inscription is also really important to get early on, particularly when we have 1 or 2 castles. You can also queue up a treb. Here we have 2 siege workshops making bomb cannons, and we don't see they have any visible threat. They could be working on one, but the chances are their economy would be already destroyed by this point. They probably don't have much in the back if we could push this far. So this is what you can do. Turks are really versatile just because you can instantly get the bomber cannon. So it's really hard to make a counter for Turks, considering Janissary is very difficult to counter, and very few things can beat it. Probably one of the only things that really can is an imperial monk, and generally imperial units, but if you're pushing hard, they won't be able to do that. So let's push forward and see what we have here. So here we have the mass knights option. We're just going to open this up a little bit so we can give the knights a better chance. I'm not sure what we have to do to trigger these knights, but these are non-elite Janissaries. Ah, there we go. And just set them to convert. Start converting some random ones. Janissaries just cleaning it up without any problems. Except their own bomber cannons are giving us problems. We have a couple converted knights, those are sponging all the damage. And yeah, simple as that. So this is a strangely long video about what to do, but this is how you play aggressive. What I really need to drum into your head is that you make the units, you send them in. Don't start massing some units, don't mass more than 3. A couple of them is all you need. You can kill scouts, that and your light cav can easily kill, 4 scouts if someone wins scouts. Really, really strong to just start pushing like that, make the petards. Try and burst in slightly, use the Janissaries to do more damage. They can't build anywhere in this area with Janissaries 8 range, keep them close to the gate. Mangonels don't really work, even in small numbers, as you can see. We did lose a couple, but for 3 Mangonels, very good trade. And yeah. So the main thing I would say that can really counter this is, well, Cav Arch is actually quite a good one. If you don't have Mangonels in time, someone opening Cav Arch, particularly if they get Thumb Ring quite easily. I'm thinking a Civ with a good eco bonus, for example Huns. and with a cheaper cav arch as well. They can get Thumb Ring quite easily. Just getting the faster firing cav arch with Thumb Ring. Tatars also getting the free upgrade is really big here. Going cav arch can beat the Turks, especially since they can tank Mangonel shots, tank Janissaries a little bit better. They can hit and run, they can snipe. They are really nice units to use against this kind of thing. So that's one possible option. Another possible option is fast imp monk treb, but that person has to be really quick. And yeah, so maybe I will make a video in the future, probably even based off this, for when you spot someone doing a fast imp monk treb, what you could possibly do to try and counter it. Some of these steps, they don't really work with some civs, and it can be civ specific how to counter it. Picking tunes is always a good way to counter monk treb. But this won't work. You will run into a castle. You can up fast make bomber cannons, but it's not going to help you. And I'm going to go over that in another guide. But hopefully this is a definitive guide on how to have an aggressive civ like Turks. And just get in you that you need to be aggressive. Start pushing, make the military buildings. You need Mangonels to start smashing stuff down. Janissary's Mangonel is also counterable. Easily convert knights with the monastery. You have map control, take the relics. There is a lot of information to get out of this kind of video. But when you get this kind of aggression, then you really beat the kind of booming meta and the low risk map control, like opening with some like crossbows with fletching or some scouts or whatever, depending on the civ. And this works really, really well. But as I said, keep playing, get the decisions in your head that you need to do when you come up against something that you've not had to counter before. You can only really learn by playing. If you do this, and you'll come across new situations. I can't cover them all, but hopefully this covered most of them, at least by explanation, whereas the AI doesn't obviously use monks properly or attacks around with Mangonels. So, that is it for this guide. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.